right.
Yeah, all right.
Good evening, everyone. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have roll call, please?
Supervisor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilwoman Campbell.
Present.
Councilman Tempori is not here. Councilman Ruthven.
Here.
Councilman Boyd.
Here.
Present.
Thank you. Our first item is the planning and zoning boards have asked us to go out for bids for legal services. So tonight, we are just authorizing to go out. Do you want to read it?
Sure. I make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise requests for proposals for certain legal services. Where it is the policy of the town board of the town of Kent to periodically seek professional, I lost my spot, sorry. To periodically seek proposals for professional services, and whereas the town board believes it to be in the best interest of the town to advertise that it is seeking proposals for legal services as set forth in the legal specification documents annexed hereto and incorporated by reference. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for requests for proposals for legal services for Part 4, Planning and Zoning Legal Services. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next item is the sale of town property. We brought this up 2 weeks ago, and they are for 3 separate parcels listed. And Nancy, do you want to just let everyone know what we're going to do with the properties?
Yeah, a resident asked if he could purchase 3 small parcels that are adjacent to his property. It was before consideration before the board last meeting, but somebody brought up the fact that it appeared that those 3 lots might be in the Lake Carmel Park District. So I conferred with the assessor's office, I reviewed some tax maps, and I even went to the county clerk's office to look at the original map setting up the Lake Carmel Park District, and it appears that they are not actually in the Park District. I will say, though, that I haven't looked through all of the maps in the county clerk's office yet. If it does turn out that they're in the Park District, the town code says that they can be excluded just by a writing filed with the county clerk's office. So the deed transferring the property would omit them from the Park District.
Okay.
This makes it simple enough like that, then I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Well, on the letter from the assessor, it says limited marketability. What does that mean? Are they undevelopable property? Is that what it's going to stay?
Yeah,
It's going to stay.
standalone like that, they're not able to be developed, they're too small, and they really have no value to anyone else but an adjoining property owner.
Okay, because what I was just going to say is that when this was set up years ago, it was to get Lake Carmel people to buy, 1 or 2 lots next to them that were unusable. So this is, it does say Lake Carmel Park District, and Bob showed you the maps. So
It says that on the Putnam County parcel access.
Okay.
And I think that was human error.
Okay, but, all right,
That's what it's
but Bob
about.
has the paper too, so. So my thing is, are you going to say it cannot be developed? Because, all right, so he has 11 acres, he has a house there. So if he's going to subdivide it, then he has to go to Chapter 77 and 66A, because it says if you're going to do subdivision or re-subdivision, because the map of 2008 is this Town of Kent zoning map. So then he's going to have to go through a lot line change and all this other stuff. So that's where I don't want trouble down the road when he thinks he's, got a piece of parcel that he's going to add and then he's going to subdivide. So if it's buildable, then shouldn't it be market value? Because each of those parcels did have a set value to them. It was like $3,000 each. And that one lot is 9 lots. That one parcel is 9 lots, and you need 5 lots to build in Lake Carmel. So it does fall under the code, but again, I don't know what the property looks like. So a lot of what I read on the zoning codes, it should go through like the zoning board to actually do it before he purchases the property.
To do what? What would the
If he's
zoning
going to
board
do a lot, he's going to have to do a lot line revision. because he's adding these lots to his parcel, so
It's
if,
going to be merged into one parcel. That's going to be a requirement.
okay? But if he's going to start subdividing parcel, that's what I'm saying. You're giving someone a buildable piece of property now, like, so he can subdivide, he has 11 acres. So now I want to put up 2 more houses. So I'm going to use that parcel to say, I have this much property, so I'm going to be making money on that. So is that
No,
a
it's
public hearing? Is that
This is
fair
11
market
acres,
value?
so
Or is
this
that
is-
just a non-buildable property that he just wants to keep it, you know, more for privacy and,
I
know.
honestly, I don't know what he wants it for.
well, Bob said he wanted to build houses, so I'm assuming he's going to subdivide. Just questions?
I don't know, does the board want to put a prohibition on subdivision in the transaction? I'm not sure.
I don't, but I don't know what the board wants to do.
I thought 7 lots, because each lot being 20 foot by 100 foot,
It's 5.
is it 5? So your septic and well have to be how far from each other? That's why I think it's 7
I'm not the
lots,
building inspector, but
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
just
I think it's
saying,
7
is
lots.
Bill here?
actually.
Usually he's here.
Everybody's at the school meeting.
Oh, that's true. Everybody's at the school meeting. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I just think, maybe ask the chairman of the zoning board if I'm wrong on how you're supposed to do this. Because I read 77-6 and 66A. I'm just saying, it's going to cause a problem down the road if he comes in to
So
build.
We'll make it conditioned on if there are any requirements like that under the town code that he has to comply with, he's got to do that first.
Okay.
At his own expense.
Right, because you don't want the person thinking they're getting it a certain way, and then
Outside of Lake Carmel.
it causes problems for the taxpayers afterwards.
So Kathy, can you step
Yes.
there a minute? In the town of Kent, don't you need 2 acres to build a house on?
It's, if you're in the R80 zone, which I think is 5 acres, but,
Is it 5 and?
It's
well, it's,
2.
there is a 2-acre thing.
That's
but
what
I
the
was
80
reading
means.
There's 5 acres on some of the, it depends if it's an R80, if it's an R40, if it's an R10.
But you're saying that because he's getting 5 Lake Carmel building lots, which we're not even
Well,
sure they're
right,
Lake Carmel.
It's 9.
Does
The
that
one-
meet the
one
acre,
lot
would
is
that
9.
even meet?
Well, again, look, how much is wetlands, how much is a hill, how much is, you know.
But aren't we
buildable?
excluding him from Lake Carmel? No
Yeah, he's
matter
not
what?
gonna be part of
We're
Lake Carmel.
excluding him, so,
Park district or the sanitation district.
That's why I'm wondering
And
if
the
it goes.
assessor did tell me that property, it's very steep, there's an incline there where one of the lots is, the one that's, I guess, on the east side.
Well, there's 4 lots here, there's 4 lots here, but the lot in the middle is 9 lots.
Can I see your map? This little square is 4 lots?
No, yes.
And this
4
little
lots.
square is 4 lots?
And then, well, on his letter, do you have his letter with you?
What is that
Okay,
lot
right
size
there.
again?
So it's
On
80
that
by
letter.
80 by 100.
17 lots.
I'm sorry, Sean, what was that again?
What's with that? What's the
The
question?
lot size?
I thought, obviously being a well driller, knowing the offsets between septics and wells, I thought a minimum was 7 lots. And it had to be perfect because your neighbors,
It probably has to be
wells and
perfect,
septics had to
but I
be,
have 5 lots on Homestead.
yeah,
I would have to move everybody's well for them, for me to build on.
correct, yes.
And you said what the lot size was, but I did not catch
20
it.
by 100 each lot.
Yeah, that's
20 by 100?
Yep, 20 foot by 100. That's, for a majority of them are, fit that
the
description.
assessor also said let's see, and that would be best, so the lots are best described as challenging. So they're
Right,
not,
but he used the word limited is marketability, and I'm saying.
the lots have limited marketability and value to the
You know,
general
where
public.
That, it just means a whole different. Believe me, I read this all over again in chapter 66, and if you're gonna read through the town map from the master plan of 2008, there are other requirements.
Well, we'll add those stipulations to,
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
and,
Right, at his.
Expense.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Are we good? I'd like to make a resolution authorizing the sale of unneeded town property, whereas the town of Kent is the owner of 3 parcels of vacant land adjacent to land identified of the town of Kent, tax map numbers 33.80-1-2, 44.24-1-6, and 44 .24-1-3, the property, and whereas the property does not have frontage on any existing roads, and whereas Mr. Gerald Ranieri owns the parcel identified as 33.18-1-28, which adjoins the property, and Mr. Ranieri wishes to purchase the property and merge the property with 33.18-1-28, and whereas pursuant to Town Law 64 subsection 2, the town board is authorized to sell real property at private sale pursuant to a resolution which is subject to a permissive referendum, and provided the property is unneeded for town purposes and an adequate consideration is received, and whereas the property is currently not being used for any public purpose and there is no future use contemplated for the property, and it is therefore unnecessary for town purposes, and whereas Mr. Ranieri has offered to pay the town the sum of $3,250 in exchange for the property, and whereas by letter, the town assessor has reviewed and the contemplated sale and determined that $3,250 is a reasonable value for the lots on the condition that they be merged with parcel 33.18-1-28. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board finds that the property is currently not being used for any public purpose and there is no future use contemplated for that portion of the property, and it is therefore unnecessary for town purposes, and it has no value to anyone other than Mr. Ranieri, and be it further resolved, the town board agrees to sell the property to Mr. Ranieri for the sum of $3,250, subject to permissive referendum. Be it further resolved that as a condition of the sale, Mr. Ranieri must merge the lots with parcel 33.18-1-28, and Mr. Ranieri is responsible for any and all fees in connection with the sale of the property and the merger. I make this motion.
And we'll make a further condition on Mr. Ranieri being obligated to comply with all state and local codes at his own expense. And that what?
And then it would, if it is in the park, it's being taken out.
That's automatic merging it with that
We control the
property.
deed, so I'll take care of that. Yeah.
So, and be it further resolved that Mr. Ranieri is responsible to comply with any all state and
Local.
local laws or codes,
And we'll cover all
and will
costs.
cover all costs associated with it. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next item is the American Towers. They are asking us to do some modifications on the tower by the Kent landfill. So we have to just approve it tonight that they can start working on it. I know Verizon has been in the area working on some of the towers. They have not been working on our towers yet, so. It's, Resecu.
That's not in order, is it?
Are you not doing the Teamsters?
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to, we're removing that, but I skipped over it. I'll
Okay.
make a motion to remove it in a second, I'm sorry.
Can they fix this one? Since you have the trees that fell off?
They were working on it today.
Trying to.
Well, I don't know what they were doing, but they.
Right, but it looks terrible.
I talk to them, they call me every so often, they're very nice, I'm sure that I could ask them to make it look more like a tree, even though,
Well,
no matter
it
what they
was.
do to, no matter what they do to that tower, it's never gonna look like a tree.
I know, but either take the stuff off or put more stuff on, because it looks.
I've never once looked at it and thought, is that a tree or a cell phone
was.
tower?
I saw yesterday they were bringing a big man lift in to go up there. Maybe they're putting the spring buds on it right now or
Maybe.
something.
We'll see what they can do with it. All right, does someone want to read the
I can do that.
resolution for the?
Okay. I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing acceptance of proposal of American Tower for equipment removal and installation. Whereas the town, as landlord, previously entered into lease agreements with Homeland Towers LLC as lessee for sites within the town of Kent, including a site at 146 Resecu Street, Kent, New York, hereinafter the lease agreement. And whereas Homeland Towers LLC assigned its right to Insight Towers Development LLC, which was acquired by American Tower Corporation, and whereas pursuant to the site lease agreements, the lessee must obtain the consent of the town board prior to the installation of certain equipment of users of the tower on the site, and whereas the lessee is requesting the town board's approval on a proposal for the removal and installation of equipment by Verizon Wireless at 146 Rescue Street, consistent with the plans prepared and submitted with the proposal, copies of which are annexed here too and hereby incorporated. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby consents to the proposal, consistent with the plans submitted by the lessee, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Since I skipped over it, I make a motion to remove the MOA Teamsters from the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is for the Justice Courts. It is the Language Line Phone Agreement. This is for our translator that comes in for the courts on court days. This agreement will actually save the town a significant amount of money because of the different stipulations that are written in here. Right now, we pay her an hourly rate. But if another town pays an interpreter for the day, and they only need that interpreter for an hour or two, any of the neighboring towns can then use that interpreter for the rest of the day and not have to pay for it. We have difficulty finding interpreters for, what did they say, Portuguese, I don't know, there was a couple of languages that we have issues, and we won't have those issues with this agreement. And the ones that we have difficulty from, we usually have to pay a lot more money, so this will save us. So I'm just asking that we approve the agreement tonight.
Okay.
I'll give it a shot. I make a motion for resolution accepting a quote for a language line for Justice Court. Whereas the town of Kent is in need of a translation service for the Justice Court, and whereas the town board is in receipt of a master service agreement from Language Line Services, Inc., Language Line, to provide the necessary translation services, a copy of which is annexed hereto and incorporated herein at a per minute charge. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the master service agreement as per a minute charge. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the master service agreement from Language Line as further detailed in the annexed agreement. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms thereof, all in the form satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney if requested. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. Lake Carmel. Our first item is our lake management proposal. It's that time of year again where we have to approve the, I don't want to even say it, but the treatments for the lake if we need it, but of course, we hope we don't need it at all. We were very lucky last year, and I think the year before as well. So we're hoping that we continue with that streak, but we do have to approve them so that Mark can go out and get the permits that he needs, so that if he does have to treat, we're all set, we're all good to go. Any board comment?
Nope.
Any public comment? Okay.
Just a question, so the treatment, usually just a chemical treatment we put in the water?
It is.
It's the
It's
same chemicals we use?
There's two different kinds. It's,
Cutrine.
Citrine Ultra,
and then one of them is a,
Earth Tech.
The
yeah.
whole package here, do you want to see it?
You want mine?
I didn't attach it because it's like 20 pages.
So I guess really the question is just to make sure it's the same stuff we use every year.
Every
year in
year,
and
the
out.
same stuff that we use every
same-
single
same-
year.
Same person.
DEP Approved, all
Yep.
those good things. Okay.
Can you pass that to Sean?
All right, I make a motion to pass a resolution accepting proposal for the lake treatment services.
Thank you,
Whereas the town is in the need of lake management service to control algae blooms in Lake Carmel, whereas Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated is the sole source provider for the algicide treatment required for Lake Carmel and has submitted a proposal for the treatment of Lake Carmel for the 2024 season, a copy of which is annexed here too. And whereas the town board believes that it is in the best interest of the town to accept the proposal submitted by Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology, Inc. in the amount of $19,910 for the management of algae blooms in Lake Carmel for the 2024 season, and to authorize Limnology to apply for the necessary permit from the New York State DEC and New York State Division of Water. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the algicide treatment for Lake Carmel, by Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology, Inc. for a price not to exceed $19,910, which includes the fees for the permits referenced above, consistent with the annex proposal, and authorizes the town supervisor to execute all documentation required to obtain all necessary permits and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill's here now.
Do you want to just, these are, the last two are quick, and then we'll invite them up, okay?
Okay.
All right. Our next item is, again, it's time to advertise for our summer workers around Lake Carmel. So I'm asking tonight that we advertise for certified waterfront lifeguard supervisor, waterfront guards, water safety instructors, because we're hoping that we will bring back swimming lessons to Lake Carmel this year, and seasonal park maintenance workers. Someone want to read the resolution?
Ann?
Ann?
So I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for the positions of certified waterfront lifeguard supervisor, waterfront guards, water safety instructor, WSI, and seasonal park maintenance workers for the Lake Carmel Park District. Whereas the town of Kent is seeking to fill the summer positions of lifeguard supervisor, certified waterfront lifeguards, waterfront safety instructor, and seasonal park maintenance workers for the Lake Carmel Park District, and whereas the town of Kent wishes to advertise for applications to fill said positions, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for applications for the positions of lifeguard supervisor, certified waterfront lifeguards, waterfront safety instructor, and seasonal park maintenance workers positions for the Lake Carmel Park District. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, for Lake Carmel, we have our porta potty or porta-john rentals. So we tried to get quotes from 3 companies, CRP Sanitation, United Rentals, and Seek a Seat. Seek a Seat did not provide a quote, and the lowest quote for the season we received was from CRP Sanitation. So we are recommending that that company be used for the 2024 season.
Sounds good.
Is everyone good with that? Good.
Right.
Some-
Ready? Make a motion for a resolution acceptance of quote for rental of porta-johns. Whereas there is a need to rent portable toilets for beaches numbers 2, 3, 4, and 7 in the maintenance garage and the Lake Carmel Park District. And whereas in accordance to the town's procurement policy, the Lake Carmel Parks Department clerk requested quotes from 3 companies and received 2 in response, copies of which are annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas CPR Sanitation has submitted the lowest quote. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to accept the quote submitted by CPR Sanitation for calendar year 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the rental of porta-johns from CPR Sanitation at the prices set forth on the quote annexed here to for calendar year 2024. The town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms thereof, all in the form satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney if requested. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I make a motion to move the NRI adaptation up on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ann, would you like to take this one?
Okay. So we have a very long resolution to read. After a great deal of work, we now do have the town's natural resources inventory, both with and without the biodiversity inventory. Chair of our KCAC, Bill Volkman, is here. He really instigated this a number of years ago, got us going, motivated on trying to start this project. And I gather Bill would like to make some comments. We also have Bill Buck here, who is one of the 2 local, or formerly local naturalists, who put in over 1,000 hours of work on the biodiversity inventory, which is appended to the natural resources inventory. So Bill, you want to say a little bit about it, and then I will read our very long resolution.
A lengthy resolution, indeed. Sure. My name is William Volkman. I'm the chairman of the Conservation Advisory Committee here in the town of Kent. And I am here to speak about our NRI. And this has been the culmination of a really 5-year project. This is a project that was kicked off in 2019. And we received a grant from the New York State DEC in 21 to fund the project. That was a 2-year grant. We were able to keep within the budget and within the parameters of the time frame of the grant and complete the document. And that included, as Ann said, well over 1,000 hours of work with several volunteers. The primary focus was Bill Buck and Beth Hare, who, with a team of volunteers, went out almost daily in the warm weather months, and then in the cool weather months, were working in lab work, basically inside, to catalog all of the flora and fauna, the plants and animals that were discovered in their biodiversity survey work. I just want to take a moment to thank the people from the NRI steering committee who worked on that project. Bruce Barber, Jackie Bashar, Bill Buck, Ann Campbell, Simon Carey, Beth Hare, Jackie Rory Strickland, Chris Rithfin, Chris. Sorry, Chris.
That's okay.
Tom Stein, and then the 2 authors, Gretchen Stevens and Chris Graham from Hudsonia. They put a significant amount of work, I would say yeoman's work, into making this product, this book, actually come to fruition. They have a vast amount of experience in creating NRIs. They've done NRIs for other towns and 2 counties. The NRI is an incredible document that becomes a land use planning tool. And it is an important document in our land use planning and zoning discussions going forward. This is something that was outlined in the 2008 Kent Comprehensive Plan as needed, and now we have it. So over time, it will be updated on a periodic basis. This also will now feed into an update of the Kent Comprehensive Plan when we get around to doing that, along with a few other land use tools that we're actually working on. I understand we received a grant recently for an open space inventory. And so again, these things add into what we have in our town. It's important to know what we have so that we can plan for how we want to work with it and how we want to work either around it or include it, protect it, etc. We have a lot of things that need to be protected in order to preserve the rural character of our town. I'm very excited about this document, and I'm very excited that we're moving forward on this. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And now that you've said all that, maybe I don't need to read this whole long resolution, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Thank you.
I got one little, just thinking about how this whole thing got started, and I want to ask Bill Buck. Bill, when I was a very, very freshman councilman, you asked to come meet with me up here in Town Hall. Do you remember sitting over in the council? And that's the first time Bill sat down with me and said, we really needed an NRI. I didn't even know what it was. And he sat there and explained it to me, and we did it. I mean, it seems like 5.5 years ago, because it's that long, I can barely remember it, but it got done.
Yeah, we started the project in early 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic.
So, kudos to all of you guys that did a lot of work, a lot of private time in it.
I mean, this grant required a 15% match from the town of Kent, and that was Beth and my hours that were
Right.
made possible.
No, that's true. It was all in-kind service through your volunteer hours, so thank you. Thank you all for the work you put into this.
And you went way beyond that 15%, believe me. I think they were a bit overwhelmed by the numbers.
Every bit is worth thousands of our own dollars as well, so.
Yes.
And I will just note that the biodiversity survey is not a formal part of the NRI in the sense that the NRI doesn't ask for it. But the fact that we have Bill Buck and Beth to work on this, and they included their professional colleagues literally from around the world, academics and professionals in the biology fields from Connecticut all the way out to Germany, and they were sending samples of different animals and plants, and mostly insects, when I say animals, to have them identified and cataloged. And so it's an incredible outreach from our little town to reach out through Bill, and we couldn't have done it without Bill for the biodiversity survey. And the biodiversity survey is also becoming, we're looking at this, the state is looking at that, the DEC is looking at that and going, well, it would be nice to do that everywhere, because we really it's good to get a grip on what we have in terms of our plants and animals wherever we are. The DEC had an initial biodiversity survey that they released to us, which really was a catalog of an assemblage of information that was already well known and documented in the New York State Library and other DEC resources. But what we have now is a very comprehensive survey of all of the flora and fauna in our town, and it's pretty well
Dispute that
done.
it's comprehensive. I would be surprised if we even have 5% of the insects, even though we have thousands of them. I mean, there's so many, no-see-em size things.
Yeah.
Insects are amazing.
Didn't you guys find one that had never been documented before?
We have a number of other species new to science. We have species new to North America. We have this record, literally, it's the first North American record of things. It's amazing what turned up when you just look closely.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And they sure did
And
look.
we're still working on it, so we hope to actually update the biodiversity inventory on the web version, maybe once or twice a year as we get more names.
Great. Well, thank you.
Wow. Yep, we have one public comment.
Oh, yeah. We have, there's now a copy in the library. There is a copy in the town clerk's office. It is online. It's online at Hudsonia's website. I think we're still trying to figure out the
I
town
just
website.
got the final version into a Dropbox, and I just need to get it to our IT consultant and to you, and we can get it on the town's website and on the KCAC website.
Okay, yeah, so it is online, and we're working to make it even more available. Yeah.
We're also seeking funding, which I think we're in line to get, to create an interactive website so that you could go onto the web, and even if you don't have experience with the GIS programs, you could put in your parcel location and click on the different map layers. There are about 30 different maps in here of all different kinds of aspects of the topography and natural resources in the area, water bodies and so forth. And you'd be able to click on those different layers and learn all about a specific location. So that's coming, and we hope to have that up and running very soon. Town of Gardner has something like that, and it just makes this document that much more usable. I should also say that it's also aesthetically quite lovely, and part of that has to do with the response we got from community members from our campaign, our social media request to submit photos. A lot of people came through, so if you submitted a photo, take a look. Your work may be in here, and in particular, John Kenny, a local photographer, supplied just phenomenal photographs of local plants and animals. So are we ready to read?
Are you
Yep,
ready?
Go for it.
Yeah, I have my water here. So I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the Town of Kent Natural Resources Inventory. Whereas the Town of Kent Conservation Advisory Committee, CAC, initiated a project in 2019 to develop a natural resources inventory, NRI, as recommended by the town's comprehensive plan of 2008, and as recommended by and guided by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC. And whereas an NRI is a systematic and comprehensive assessment of the various natural resources within a particular geographic area. And the purpose of conducting an NRI is to gather accurate, up-to-date information to create an inventory of the natural resources and provide information concerning the quantity, quality, distribution, and condition of these natural resources within that geographic area. And whereas the Town of Kent received grant funding from the New York State Department of Environmental Protection Fund through the DEC Hudson River Estuary Program, the Estuary Program, and received technical assistance in developing an NRI. And whereas the Town of Kent formed an NRI steering committee to work with Hudsonia Limited with guidance from Estuary Program staff and dedicated nearly 2 years to the development of the NRI, and whereas the GIS-based maps and associated text of the NRI incorporate information from the town's 2008 comprehensive plan, along with other plans, studies, historical information, and environmental data sets, together with public input obtained during public engagement opportunities, and photos donated by town residents. And whereas in fulfillment of the matching requirements, over the nearly 2-year period of the grant, the NRI Steering Committee members provided over 80 hours of volunteer time, and that's underreported because the one thing I could not get them to do is give me timesheets, and over 120 hours of staff time to contribute to the development of the NRI. And whereas in fulfillment of the matching requirements, 2 professional academic biologists provided over 1,000 hours of volunteer time over a 3-year period, conducting fieldwork throughout the town's diverse habitats and working with other professional and academic scientists who volunteered their professional time to create a formal biodiversity inventory as an appendix to the NRI, which documents the multitude of species of plants and animals in Kent. And whereas the steering committee presented the draft NRI to members of the public and the Kent Town Board on June 20th, 2023, and to the Kent Planning Board on August 10th, 2023, and solicited public feedback on the near final document during August of 2023. And whereas the steering committee, in concert with Hudsonia Limited, have completed its development of the NRI consistent with the standards established by the DEC Estuary Program and in compliance with the requirements of the grant contract. And whereas the use of the NRI by the town, its agencies, boards, and the public to identify and consider important natural resources when making local land use decisions, including planning and zoning decisions, will assist the town of Kent in protecting the integrity and value of the town's natural resources, including soils, water resources, habitats, and wildlife, and other significant environmental resources. And whereas the adoption of the NRI is a Type 2 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5 C33, for which no further action under SECRA is required, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby approves and adopts the Town of Kent NRI and appended biodiversity inventory dated 2023. And be it further resolved that it is the intent of the town board that this valuable and comprehensive inventory of the town's natural resources is to be used by the town's boards, committees, agencies, and the public to assist in the development, management, and protection of these invaluable resources, and to serve as a reference tool in making future land use decisions, including use by the planning board and its consultants to identify and understand resources during subdivision, site plan, and special use permit review process, as well as during SECRA reviews. And be it further resolved that the NRI, as it is updated from time to time, shall be kept on file together with the town's comprehensive plan, including on the town's website. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby thanks and commends the members of the CAC, the NRI Steering Committee, the volunteer scientists, the community members who contribute information and photographs, the staff of Hudsonia Limited, and the staff of the NYS DEC Hudson River Estuary Program. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You don't have to read any more than that.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back up. So the planning board tonight is asking us to approve and accept an erosion control bonds and final inspection. They voted at their, I'm not sure when it was, at their March 12th planning board meeting, and it was voted unanimously for us to accept these 2 bonds.
I didn't see them here.
Got it.
You want it?
Got it.
No.
I make a motion to pass a resolution accepting the erosion control surety bond and escrow for inspection fee and returning application and inspection fee. Whereas the planning board by resolution number 3 of the year 2024 dated March 12th, 2024 has recommended that the town board accept an erosion control bond in the amount of $16,500 and an escrow for the final inspection fee in the amount of $1,000 from the property owner of the property located at 132 Gypsy Trail Road, identified as tax map number 43.2-62. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendation as set forth in planning board resolution number 3, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the recommendation of the planning board and accepts the erosion control bond and escrow as further detailed above for the premises at tax map number 43.2-62. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, our next item is our climate action plan.
And I have to apologize, you printed extra copies for me to hand out, and I left them behind in the conference room. The backup for the meeting has the action items from our climate action plan. There's an executive summary that I've drafted that didn't make it in time for the backup. If anyone wants to see it, I can run and get it. we will definitely be putting this on the website afterwards. So the town's been working for a number of years on attaining Climate Smart certification. This is a program of the New York State DEC that provides guidance on how we can not only save energy and reduce our carbon footprint, but also enhance our resilience for climate change events and make the town sort of overall more environmentally sound. And through that, they do provide various kinds of grant funding. You may remember a few years ago, we ran a solar energy electricity campaign, and through that, we achieved a $5,000 grant, which we used to develop our greenhouse gas inventories, working towards our certification. We are very close to being able to apply for that certification. There's a deadline of April 5th, and as part of that, one of the things that we had not yet done after doing the greenhouse gas inventories, which sort of assesses what we're doing, what our carbon footprint is like, and the different aspects of things like buildings and transportation and so forth, the next step is to come up with action plans for how we might reduce that carbon footprint. So we will need ultimately to have an action plan for municipal operations for the town and an action plan for the community to work with town residents on how they can in turn save money and reduce energy consumption. So as part of that, we have drafted a municipal climate action plan. This was discussed at our last workshop meeting. The Climate Smart Task Force has been involved, and I'm hoping that we could perhaps adopt that tonight. That's one of the things that should get us over the top on achieving our first level of certification through Climate Smart. So is there any discussion on that item?
Just for a little clarification, when Ann mentions deadline of April, it's not a hard deadline. That's one of the benchmarks
Right.
we have set. I mean, it is a deadline, but there's more deadlines.
Right.
If we don't
It's not
make
our
it, we're
last
not
chance.
done. We just got to wait till another deadline comes up.
Right.
But we are trying to kind of set a goal for ourselves to reach that deadline this year.
I think we're really close, so we want to kind of push and go for it and see how we do. And we're very close on the points for this. It may be that we won't make it this time around if something we submit isn't acceptable. But that's, it's a good process to go through. And working on the action plan has led us to look in, greater scrutiny at what DEC is looking for communities to do. And one of the things we realized is that a lot of the things we're doing are climate smart practices that just haven't necessarily been documented or that can be documented, going back to the installation of ground source heat pumps in these buildings, but also things like the stormwater management plans that we have, the different I'm not sure what the word is, but the different features that we've developed for stormwater management, replanting buffers along Lake Carmel, things that we're doing with right-sizing the bridges and culverts in town at the stream crossings. All of those things are relevant for this. So you'll see, if you look at the plan, that there are about 10 different areas that relate to the pledge that the town took in becoming a climate-smart community. And that's what allows us to really focus in on our goals. Some of those things are things we're already doing. We've already attained grant funding to do the open space plan, which is one of the things they look at. We're doing a pedestrian and cycling plan. That's another thing that's considered climate smart if we're promoting transportation by bicycle. The Lake Carmel walking path is something for which we're going to receive credit, and so forth. So it covers lots of different areas. Any other comments? Okay, so I guess I'll read this one too. I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the Town of Kent Climate Smart Action Plan, and this is the municipal action plan. Whereas the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, CLCPA, adopted by New York State in 2019, sets the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions to 40% below 1990 levels by 2030 and 85% below 1990 levels by 2050. And whereas participation in the NYSDEC Climate Smart Communities program provides municipalities with technical assistance, guidance, and funding for working towards these goals. And whereas the Town of Kent has joined the NYSDEC Climate Smart Communities program and pledged to undertake actions including reductions in energy use, transition to renewable energy sources, climate smart land use, enhancing resilience to climate change, and educating and informing the public. And whereas actions taken by the town to date towards certification through the NYSDEC Climate Smart Communities program have resulted in reductions in energy use, cost savings, and significant funding to the town. And whereas adoption of a municipal climate action plan will allow the town to set goals and track progress towards additional climate smart certification actions, and is one of the high impact actions required for certification. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves and adopts the municipal climate action plan. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want
Thank
to
you.
thank the board for being behind this for all these years. It wasn't all that long ago that former boards, we were sitting up here arguing about zoo straws over this thing, remember?
Do you want to keep going, Ann?
Okay. So another action for this, for Climate Smart certification, is something that I looked as kind of an easy lift. It has to do with approving what's called a complete streets policy. And this is just kind of a statement of an intention that when we are working on the kinds of upgrades that we hope to have, for example, if we do get funding to install sidewalks and make other transportation improvements, multimodal transportation improvements along Route 52 or 311 and so forth, that we want to focus on making those streets accessible to all, to just think in terms of design. And there are some requirements legally for certain projects that are funded by DOT that we do follow those complete streets principles. So I have a draft of a complete streets policy. I actually looked at a number of different policies from other municipalities and picked one that seemed to be kind of the most straightforward, not overly complicated, that seemed to accomplish the purpose, and that is in the backup. And it basically says that when we undertake projects, by or on behalf of our highway department, if they are eligible for state or funding, federal or state funding, that the project scope will include convenient access and mobility on the road network for users of all ages, motorists, pedestrians, bicyclists, public transportation users, and that we think about that in terms of complete design, construction, rehabilitation, when we do these projects. So that's basically what this policy is about, and it says that the kinds of features that we may be including here have to do with sidewalks, roadways, control signals, bus pullouts, and so forth, and recognizing the needs of different kinds of users and different kinds of road contexts. And there also are some provisos in here, circumstances in which we would not be required to follow these policies, and that there's nothing in here that requires the town to spend additional funds. So it's not creating some kind of an unfunded mandate. It applies to projects that we're funding anyway. Okay, so that's in essence what that policy is all about. Comment? Okay, so I make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the Town of Kent Complete Streets policy. Whereas integration of land use and transportation is critical to the livability of a community and impacts the quality of life in the region, and whereas such quality of life frequently includes interest in being able to walk, bike, make use of public transportation, and drive on well-maintained, safe streets, and whereas complete street designs are the contemporary approach to better accommodate the full range of travel modes in a manner to accommodate one's age and physical abilities, thereby providing a more balanced transportation system which offers choices of where people can go and how they can get there. And whereas such complete streets designs may include elements such as defined pedestrian and bicycle spaces, pedestrian scaled lighting, and transit stop shelters that are elements allowing children and adults to more safely walk or bike, take the bus to the grocery store, or travel to one of our town parks or one of the local trails. These elements also advance the interests of senior citizens being able to age in place. And whereas the state of New York has enacted the Complete Streets Act, Chapter 398, Laws of New York, on August 15, 2011, requiring state, county, and local agencies to consider the convenience and mobility of all users when developing transportation projects that receive state and federal funding. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent does hereby authorize the attached policy entitled Complete Streets Policy for the Town of Kent to provide the town, its highway department, planning board, and its employees, consultants, and volunteers with suitable policy guidance regarding planning and implementation of road-related renovations within the town of Kent. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution and policy be placed in the office of the town clerk. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
You have one more item, Ann?
Well, grants.
Yes.
Actually, two. Should we talk about going after funding for the dam?
Yes, we can do this.
So the word is out on the street that through congressional appropriation, with the support of our state senators, the town is getting the $1.27 million that we need to do the engineering work for the repairs on the Lake Carmel Dam. And luckily, we heard about this just in time for the deadline for this current cycle of appropriations for community project funding. When we were getting close to the deadline, we began to become concerned, what do we apply for? Do we put in again for the engineering money, and then we find out that we got it, and then we don't have a viable project for this year's cycle, and so forth. But luckily, we heard in time, and they have extended the deadline. I will be looking for letters of support, for example, from Chamber of Commerce again. So this time, we would like to go after, I think, approximately $5 million. I think that's the upper limit, whatever that upper limit is for repair of the dam. So I move that we go ahead and submit applications in this year's community project funding cycle for congressional appropriation for the repair of the dam. Amounts, whatever the maximum is, $5 million or whatever that limit is. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the other one is a Safe Streets grant. And Chief Owens, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this. I know it's here in the backup somewhere. So this is a planning grant that allows us to focus in more closely on safety of roads and streets. And that would lead us then to have material that could be used in applications, future grant applications to try to improve traffic control and safety in various locations around town. I know the county has projects like this, and some of those projects may end up being in Kent, but to my knowledge, and the county kind of confirmed this, we haven't done this kind of planning exercise just for Kent on its own. We are doing the pedestrian and cycling plan, but this is really a different focus for traffic safety. So I move that we would apply, actually, discussion, sorry. I'm rushing it.
Study like the traffic board that they used to have. They used to have a traffic board back then, right?
The county does, yeah.
Yeah, this would be more like an engineering firm that would come in and assess the whole town, different, gather traffic data at different locations and make recommendations about what safety improvements we need in town. That's my understanding.
Left-hand turn on the Towers from 52, and maybe having a lower speed limit on 52.
Anything like that, yes.
Because the people that cross the street, I sit there and die every time somebody crosses 52, walking across.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, if we get DOT TAP funding, that would be part of that project. But, my sense is we just go after all of these things at once. We don't know yet if we're going to get DOT TAP. This is another opportunity. We're just putting applications in for everything we can. Yeah. I think the county does have some plans. I think they have funding coming in for a traffic light at Ludingtonville Road that's going to come at 52.
30 years in the making.
Yes, but it is on its way. We will see it before the end of this decade, apparently. I think they're also looking at some kind of a project on Towners, but it's more at that strange intersection in front of the deli there, that they have some ideas on how they might work on that. But we can't rely on the county to do everything for us. So getting this study done would get us a leg up on then being able to apply for implementation funding on a later cycle. I'm not sure the exact amount we're going to apply for. Typically, when we do these kinds of things, we get quotes, sort of rough quotes, but then also there's some judgment on the part of the grant firm when they know how much funding is available and what the typical awards are, and we try to hit that sweet spot to get as much money as we can for the town without pricing ourselves out of competition with the funding agency. So I'm going to recommend that we put in, I'd like to make a motion that we apply for up to $200,000 for this project, depending on what the grant firm feels is in our best interest.
I'm good with
So I
that.
make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Second?
We were
I
having a
think we're
side
good.
discussion.
I know you were, that's. Okay.
Thank you. I think that's
I
all I have.
Okay, I have a couple items I need to add to the agenda. Let's see, the first one is our highway superintendent is asking us to accept, to hire Edward Todd as MEO starting March 25th in the highway department. So, should I just make the motion?
Yeah,
that
I was
just-
gonna make it up, that's why I was ready to
Okay.
sit down, but you
Oh,
can
do you-
do it, you got it
okay.
already written down.
Well, I don't, but I can just swing it.
Okay.
I make a motion to hire Edward Todd to the spot of MEO in the highway department starting March 25th, 2024. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Also, our town-wide reassessment is underway. That is coming with a lot more responsibility and duties, so tonight I'm asking the board to approve a $13,000 stipend for our assessor. The board's already knows about this, but tonight we're just making it an official resolution. I don't have it, so you can read that one.
Okay,
Any?
You don't have it? You want mine?
I got it. I'm gonna read it. I make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing a stipend for the town assessor, whereas the town assessor has requested compensation for additional duties he has taken in connection with the 2025 town-wide reassessment, and whereas the town board wishes to compensate the assessor for such services for the year 2024 with payment of a stipend in the amount of $13,000. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the payment of a stipend in the amount of $13,000 to Seth Pulowski, town assessor, to compensate for duties undertaken regarding the town-wide reassessment project. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to add an item for recreation.
Second.
Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I've been putting this off for as long as I possibly can, but unfortunately I can't anymore. Our crew chief, Chris Kehoe, after 35 years, is retiring from the town of Kent. I tried so hard not to accept this resignation. Every time he came in for the past 2 months, I said, no, I'm not taking it. And he finally came in the other day and said, you have to take it now. I'm done on March 30th. But Chris has been wonderful. Obviously, I'm the recreation director as well, so he and I have been working very closely for the past 2 years, and he's a wonderful employee, a wonderful person. He always has the best interest of the town of Kent at heart whenever he makes any decisions. And it's a big loss, and I'm very upset that we're losing him, but I wish him the best in his retirement with his wife Shelley, and fortunately we have to accept it tonight, so
It's a big loss.
it is. So I make a motion to accept a resolution accepting the retirement of Christopher Kehoe after 35 years as of March 30th, 2024, with deep regret and sadness. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Can I vote no and then he can't go? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sadly.
Yes. Could you pass that down to Lana just so she
Sure.
has the letter? Okay. You're up.
Good? I ask the board to approve the following vouchers from March 19th, 2024. Carmel Central School District, $3,495 for gym rental for February. Semco Water, $6,012.72 for Water District Number 1 in February, and $4,162.20 for Water District Number 2 in February. Civic Plus, $3,307.50 for Civic Rec annual fee. GAR Associates, $35,000 for contract billing reassessment. H.O. Penn Machinery Company, $74,550 for a little excavator. Insight Engineering, $3,719 for Eustis Park and $13,401.60 for the highway garage expansion. Kent Fire District Number 1, $494,650 for their 2024 budget. Cuba Sports, $4,098.40 for volleyball hoopster. Lake Carmel Fire Department, $1,012,490 for their 2024 budget. Medicare reimbursements, $33,367.70 for first quarter reimbursements. Millennium Strategies, $3,500 for grant services for March. New York State Department of Civil Service, $274,458.11 for health insurance for March. NYSEG, $2,884.92 for electric for the town hall, and $4,552.03 for electric for the Route 52 pump station. Pitney Bowes Reserve Account, $3,000 for, is that accounting, reserve accounting maybe? $3,000 for postage. Ring Squared, $3,324.57 for telephone services for March. Royal Carding, $3,935.08 for recycling garbage for February. Systems Development Group, $3,120 for assessor software annual support. Winway, $6,437.47 for Lake Carmel garbage. $10,131.65 for Lake Carmel garbage. $8,253.96 for Lake Carmel garbage. And going back to 2023 vouchers, Town of Kent municipal repairs, $22,556.64 for chargebacks for highway for December. I ask the board to approve as read.
Second.
I'm just gonna tell you, Chris, the Pitney Bowes reserve account is because we load the postage on the machine, so there's
prepaid,
$3,000 on the machine right now, so that. when-
Prepaid postage,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's why.
So it stamps the postage right onto it.
Yeah, so that's why, okay.
Can we do that?
We have a second,
I read
right?
that
I seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I was distracting you too much.
all right, I have a couple of announcements. Just a reminder that on Sunday, April 14th, it is the Lake Carmel Fire Department's Open House and Community Safety Day. The event will take place from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then, it's not too late this Saturday, we have our Easter egg hunt down at Ryan's Field. You can still sign up. We actually have, as of today, over 250 kids registered for the event on Saturday, but we can still fit more kids in, so you can go online and still register or call the rec office and we'll put you on the list.
Are you gonna mention that we have to delay because of weather?
We'll make
You
the
better
call.
let it know.
That's like jinxing, or maybe
I
it's
know,
not
but
jinxing it, I don't know.
doesn't look good for Saturday.
Saturday's not looking so hot, so if it is going to rain all day like it's looking at the moment, it will be a week from Saturday. We'll make that call on Thursday, but it seems like this year, a lot of our events just kept getting rained out, so I hope it's not going to continue because
That's funny,
it's
because
very
it's barely
frustrating.
rained this year.
I know, but last. Richard. And then, just so everyone knows, on April 2nd, Town Hall is a voting location for the primary. Town Hall offices will be closed on that day. So, April 2nd.
And we'll be meeting April 9th instead.
Yes, and we are meeting April 9th instead because obviously we can't use the courtroom. So, that is everything I have. Any?
You're not doing the ARPA? So you had 2 workshops on the ARPA to do it tonight.
No, we had to do it, we had to
do-
pass the resolution that day because I had to get it over to the county so that they could approve it.
You kept saying, I gotta have it for right.
I had to have it for today because
This
their
morning.
meeting, their
This
meeting
morning.
is tonight as well. So I had to have it by today. Actually, I sent it over yesterday because I didn't want there to be any issues. I wanted a little extra time. So the county has all the ARPA information now.
I don't have a flyer on it, but I do have inside information that the county health department rabies clinic is this Saturday at the county Veterans Memorial
get
Park. Cats, dogs, and ferrets usually, right?
Ferrets usually, yes.
And I think it's like
It's 1 year if you don't have,
9 to 11 or 10 to 12, but go on their website, I'm sure it's on there. I do know it's this Saturday, though.
and you have to bring your proof of a
Yeah,
rabies
you
vaccine.
have
And if
to
you
have-
don't,
yes.
they get a 1-year vaccine. If you have it, you can get a 3-year.
Correct.
I didn't get the flyer. I usually get that.
It's hanging up on my window.
I didn't get a copy though. Okay.
I have a few, as always. So I guess I'll start with the library. Here's something really sweet. Apparently tomorrow is Mr. Rogers' birthday. And so the library is doing a special program, Won't You Be My Neighbor? You don't have to register for this. You can just come in and leave a written message on the Mr. Rogers bulletin board, letting everyone know what it means to you to be a kind and good neighbor. And then there's a community hike for adults from the library. I'm not sure what the location is, but you can contact the library or look on the website for more details. That's going to be 10 a.m. on Saturday the 23rd. And as many of you know, there's a complete solar eclipse that's going to happen, I believe, on April 8th. And there are ways to prepare for that. There are ways that it can be viewed safely. Obviously, using the naked eye is not a wise thing to do. And there is a program at the library on Monday, March 25th at 4:30 to 5:15. Learn about the upcoming solar eclipse and how to stay safe during the event. So if you have family members, kids who want to see this, I highly recommend this workshop or, finding other information online about safe viewing of the eclipse. Also, this past weekend, I went to a performance of Dirt, a play by the Putnam Theater Alliance. This is the bringing together of 3 separate short plays that were written in kind of the intersection and tensions during the Revolutionary War era. 3 characters who are featured: Mary Phillips of the Phillips family, a slave who was a miller, and Daniel Nimham. And it's an amazing production. They've done a phenomenal job of bringing those 3 plays together into one play. It is no longer at Arts on the Lake, but this coming weekend, there's one last chance to see it down at Tompkins Corners Cultural Center. And so you could go to their website to find that. They have performances Saturday at 7:30 and Sunday at 3 p.m. And then last but not least, thanks to a collaboration between Kent Beautification, Lake Carmel folks, and the Kent Conservation Advisory Committee, we are pulling together to have the town cleanup on April 20th, Saturday morning. If you want to get a group together for your community, you can do that. Pick a location, invite your friends, your family, your neighbors, and then come on down to the Kent PD between 9 and 11 on Saturday morning, April 20th, to pick up your supplies and safety equipment, and you can go out and clean. And we greatly appreciate everyone's efforts to beautify Kent and pick up all the debris that has accumulated since the last time around, and there is plenty. And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Public comment?
I would just like to thank the town board for.
You have to come up to the microphone, or else people at home can't hear you.
Out there in TV land, they think we're talking to air.
I'm Bill Buck. I just want to thank the town board for applying for all these grants. I know we haven't always done that in the past, and you can't get them all, but if you don't ask, you don't get any. So I really want to appreciate that you've actually applied for so many of these grants. It's really made a difference in the town.
We've been very successful.
I agree, it's been great. I think we're kind of the envy of the other towns around us.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See everyone on
Sit down
April
and make
9th.
Simpson.